All right, guys. Welcome to the recap for week 7. I'm Walter Hudson here with Mr. Peoples, man of the Peoples, Cortez Peoples. How you doing?
I'm doing good, bro. How you feeling?
I'm all right. I cannot complain. It'll be just us two for this one. Um, Special guest Bobby Krivokapic. We have an interview with him. We will be playing at the end of the podcast, so tune into that. But without further ado, we have the 12 o'clock game, the Heat versus the Magic. Final score was 67-55. The Heat take the win. They had a pretty good first quarter, 29, and Orlando only scored, well, the Magic only scored 19. And then the Heat upped their ante from 29 to 38. And Orlando, sorry, I keep going by city, but the Magic um, get 36. And they up theirs as well, but it's just not enough. 12-point win for the Heat. Uh, Mr. Peoples, coach of the Heat. Uh, how did you feel about this game?
Uh, like I told the guys, I'm saying I tell them, we're not going for a championship right now, So let's just, play a game within a game. Um, right now, we haven't even had one practice together, so let's just do the little things, rebound, and you know, make shots and things of that nature. I felt like they did that. Um, and they're really beginning to play together and do things as a team, not one dimensional. So I mean, it was just a game that we just wanted to cruise on through, and that's what they did. They cruised on through and just got the win. So yeah.
Yeah, I seen yeah, the Magic couldn't really handle the hustle and the youth of this team for sure. I believe this team definitely capitalized on what they had more than I've seen most teams do. They used just their energy, their hustle. Miko just making shots early, getting and ones, hitting the three ball. He was 4 for 9, hitting all of his free throws, which is huge because down the stretch you need people that can make free throws. Um, a lot of technical fouls in this game. Well, warning, should I say? No, it's 2 technical fouls, I believe, in this game. Attached to the Magic, but I believe
Mm-hmm.
they got baited for a few of them. The Heat were having fun. Magic were having fun at the end of the day, and that's all that really matters. Both teams did come to play. I will say that the Magic did play hard. I'll give them
Oh
that.
yeah.
The
Oh
Magic
yeah.
definitely came to play. They didn't just roll over and let this happen. This was that second half from the Magic was as good of a half as I've seen them play. Like without it looking like an open gym, like within a set. And this game just nobody let up. And this was just a good game. I enjoyed watching it. Um, we'll move on to the second game. Um, Another hard fought game, low scoring game, 50-45, Bucks and Grizzlies. The Bucks take this one. The Bucks lead at the half, 26-22, and then they outscore the Grizzlies 24-23 in the second half. Um, this game, no real numbers stand out to me in an excellent way. Maybe one player in Barrett Golden and another player in Chris Anderson. Barrett Golden had 16 points, 9 rebounds. Um, yeah, Barrett Golden had 16 and 9, and Chris Anderson had 9 points and 12 rebounds on just 4 shots. Hit a big three in the first half. Um, I guess I'll start since coach the Grizzlies myself. This game for me was kind of really hard to. It was just really hard to watch afterwards. Um, just only scoring 45 points. That's not good enough to beat any of the top teams in the league. But holding the team to 50 points and then last week holding the net to 47 points, it's like I feel like the Grizzlies on the defensive end are kind of like making these games like a lot harder for other teams. But it's like we can't offensively, we just can't get over the hump. Um, we shot not too good, 19 for 54 total, 35% from the field, 2 for 17 from three. Hit less than half of our free throws. He rebounded the ball well. I rebounded him 34-29, which is saying something because they have rebounders in Anderson and Swartz and Shaw and Barrick, but you know, everybody on our team came to rebound collectively. Um, it just wasn't a Chris White wasn't looking like himself offensively. Chad White has had some shots fall in the first half that were really big in keeping us in this game, and just down the stretch, the Grizzlies just couldn't execute. We couldn't make shots. And that's really what it came down to. I believe we locked in on defense. We had each other's back. We communicated, but on offensive end, we just didn't move around enough. We didn't move the ball enough, and we just didn't stay disciplined. Um, Shout out to the Bucks. Shout out to Barrick for only missing one shot and really making some really big plays down the stretch as well, along with Tristan Swartz and Chris Anderson. They had some big layups down the stretch to put it away. So shout out to them. How do you feel about the game, Mr. Peoples?
Oh man, you know, basketball is one of those sports that you think sometimes the matchup is in your favor, but and then you tend to go into the game like, okay, I know I'm gonna beat that matchup, but not knowing that sometimes the way the game goes doesn't always work in your favor. So what am I trying to say? You got referees in the game, you got fans, you got different things that the other team is doing, your team is doing. It messes up the flow of the game, and I feel like that was the problem with Chris, because he was talking about the referees, which a lot of questionable calls, a lot of things that they wasn't doing mentally that they know they could do better. You guys as a team that really kind of, because more so 45-50 game, guys made 3 more mistakes than the Bucks did. So like, I think it's more mentally for the Grizzlies. I think it's more just bringing all the pieces together and playing a complete game within a game. Bucks, they just had the playmakers in the game at that point in time for that particular game. Not saying the Grizzlies don't have playmakers, but the Bucks had the playmakers for that particular game. So I mean, I could definitely see these two teams playing each other down the line in the playoffs, and it being a good game like it was yesterday. So it was a good game.
Yeah, I agree. I do. Yeah, I personally was frustrated with the officiating, and shout out to our officiating crew for handling it the best way. I think shout out to both teams as well, my own team as well, but not like I said, for not mishandling the situation or getting personal with the officials. Players do get frustrated when they feel like the call isn't going a certain way, but I don't think anybody ever wants it to be personal because this is a job at the end of the day. That and a person is separate. So shout out to the officiating crew for being professional, handling it very well, for not talking at the players, for not egging anything on, for sticking to your ground. Um, Thank you guys for that. And yeah, it was definitely a frustrating game down the stretch, especially when you feel like um, certain things swung your momentum in the incorrect manner. But it's it's not something you can bank your hat on. It's not something you can just blame. At the end of the day, like I said, we were 19 for 54 from the field total. Like and when it comes to free throw attempts, we shot 11, they shot 12. It was, we had 4 turnovers, they had 13. It's like we had every opportunity to win the game. We could say the officials did what they wanted to, but we had more possessions to work with. We shot more shots. We took 4 more shots. So, yeah, no excuses here. This is a game that we definitely could have won, but we did not bring it to our fullest potential. And we'll be looking in 2 weeks to do much better. But on to the 2 p.m. game, the Lakers and the Sixers. This was probably the most complete game I've seen from the Lakers. Yeah, this was probably one of the most complete games I've seen. A lot of I'll just go with the score first. They win 80 to 64. 43-27 first half and dead even at 37 for the second half. But they take the 16-point lead and win. For the Sixers, we know Miles Bergens, 32 points, 10 rebounds, 4 steals. He's everywhere. 6 or 7 from the free throw line, 13 for 21 from the field. He's just Miles Bergens is definitely going to be him and Barrett Golden are the number 1 and number 2 or 1A, 1B, whatever you want to call it, guys for rookie of the year. They're really kind of carrying this right here. But for the Lakers, you have Tone Brooks with 20 points, Terrell Hendricks with 21 points. You have Quill Marshall, who put in 13 points on 10 shots. You had J.J. Calvin, who had 9 points on 6 shots. You had Devontae Barnes with 8 points on 8 shots. You had Andre Robertson Jr. with 9 points on 10 shots. It's like everybody's the ball got moved around. They shot 52% from the field and 42% from three. I think that this is the type of game that the Lakers need to play. I feel like they dominated this game from beginning to end. I feel like they never let up. I feel like any run that was being made, they shut it down and they worked on the defensive end. And I feel like they worked through Tone Brooks more this game as they should have, which definitely helped them a lot. With Tone Brooks had 20 and 11 assists. I like what I've seen from the Lakers this game based on the critiques that I've been giving them throughout the entire season. I feel like they had their foot on the gas from beginning to end and did not let up when they had to lead. How do you feel about this game, Mr. Peoples?
I do agree with you. I do feel like this game was definitely their complete game out of the whole year. There's just one thing that concerns me with them still is inside presence. Yes, J.J. Calvin is definitely a rebounder. He's a good post defender, but they're still missing just that one inside presence that's gonna give them an edge when we get to the playoffs. And I don't see that. Maybe Mark could come back and play that role or whatever, but I just don't see them having enough to get through the playoffs effectively. But 76ers, man, Miles, man, he just need help. Like Don put in 12, I believe. Yeah, Don put in 12. But after Don, the next person had 6, and that was Jordan, which was the second leading scorer for like almost 3 weeks in a row. Jordan was leading second scorer for that team.
Yeah, he was.
And he just fell off. So Miles need help, man, and they need to play team ball. They need an inside presence that's consistent. So hopefully Jonathan can bring them together, man. But yeah, Lakers definitely played a better game yesterday.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the Sixers I don't understand what the identity of this team could be at best is the thing. I feel like Miles Bergens creates a lot for them. But the opportunity, they get a lot of open shots. Like, if you really watch their games, the shots that they take aren't like wild. Like, they have good shots to take, it's just they don't knock them down like they're supposed to. I think that their shot making is just not as high as it needs to be. I think they settle for too many jumpers. And I think that they need to just try to get to the free throw line more and focus on that. But we'll move on to the next game. We have the game, which was the game of the week. We have the Warriors and the Celtics, 72-54. Mr. Peoples, how do you feel about this game?
Obviously the Celtics, they didn't have everyone. They didn't have Jared. They didn't have who else they didn't have?
They didn't have Jared. They didn't have Phil and Drady. They didn't have They didn't have a lot of people.
Oh,
They didn't have Antonio Phillips.
oh, okay. So I mean,
Yeah.
we didn't have everyone, but the flip side of that is, you know, next man up. You gotta come prepared no matter what. I just feel like the Warriors just had too much firepower for this game, and they just overpowered the Warriors. Even though they did make a run in the second half, so they didn't give up. So, but just this game, the Warriors just had everything clicking. Tyree got hot early. He was making shots early. Otis hit some shots and things of that nature. So, I mean, I feel like it's one of those games where they came in very confident, and they just hit shots. And Boston just didn't have. I mean, the Celtics just didn't have enough to just overcome a deficit that the Warriors had already given them already. So, I mean, but I could definitely see these two teams again playing in the playoffs. So, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like the Warriors had their entire team. Celtics didn't. Antonio Phillips is definitely some youth for this team. Um, I think that Phil Andrade is huge for his energy on the rebound and his offense, his ability to score in the paint. I think would have put a lot of pressure on the Warriors, especially the Trail, who did a solid job of guarding Kavos. Kavos was just 2 for 10, had 6 points and 13 rebounds this game. I don't think I just don't I don't the Warriors scare me just a little bit. Like I think not in a way of like, oh, I'm scared of them, but just I I wonder if this team can reach its full potential, like if it's even possible. These personalities on this team, when you watch them like interact like on the court, it's just a little off and a little odd. I know they're all competitive, but I believe that they have a way of winning or a way that they all like to play. And it's like it just seems like it doesn't match up, or they don't have the same vision of what winning looks like or this championship team looks like. And that's not saying that they're a bad team, because they beat the number two team. Now the Celtics are the number three, should be the number three team, I believe. The Warriors like eclipsing them, becoming the number two team. Like, yeah, that's they came and did it. They came out to play. Like Tyree played the game he was supposed to. Otis played the game he was supposed to. Latrell did. Kawani Blackman played a great game. Antonio Marshall kind of off with his shooting, over 3 from 3. Not used to that. Had 3 turnovers as well. When he had 10 points and 10 assists the last game he did play. So that is a little off. That does worry me slightly. I wonder how his fit works on this team with Tyree taking a lot of shots. I think he's just there for game management reasonings, is just from what I'm looking at. But I I wonder if them not using their bench as well can cause, not that they don't use it, but like, I mean, I guess they use it just for breathers, because like Alonzo King doesn't see the floor much. Aaron Hall sits later in games. Um, I I wonder how it's all gonna work. They've made it to the finals in the championship. So, I mean, every time Otis has played, like had his own team, so to speak. But he's just Tyree Mosley's team. And anytime like he's had the guys he's wanted to have, he's made it. So they just got to win it all. I wonder how they're gonna do it with this team. Like I wonder if it's gonna last.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, though.
Yeah, that's all I got. That's my concern. If they can get it together, I'd love to see it. Like it would be beautiful for the league. But next game, and this was my game of the week, the Spurs versus the Nets. The Nets finally get the mark in the loss column. There are now what 6-1.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're 6-1 now. They lose this one 58-57 on a buzzer-beating layup from Michael Bradford. This game was a nail biter. The Nets did all they could to win this game too. Like it was they couldn't do more than what they did other than stop the last shot. Um, and it's amazing to me how they claw like each game. Like, and it was a tale of two halves. Like the Spurs had, if I told you guys that the Spurs were losing, that was it 17-4 at one
Something
point in
like
this game.
mm-hmm.
It was ridiculous. It was only 4 points scored. No, it was 13 minutes in the first. It was 4 points in the first 13 minutes. That's what it was. The Spurs only scored 4 points in the first 13 minutes of this game and came out with the win. Like you couldn't tell me that would have happened. Like it was crazy. But for the Nets, you had Martavius Laster, who's still putting on brilliant performances. Has 22 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists. Not as many rebounds as I'm used to seeing him have, but still in the scoring column. 7 for 16, 1 for 6 from three. Couldn't find the shooting touch out there, but he found a way to get to the basket and the free throw line. Shot 7 for 9 from the free throw line. Jameer Hines was on fire. He was 3 for 5 from three, 6 for 8 total, 16 points and 4 rebounds for him. And you had Mook Lawrence with 3 for 8 from the field, had 8 points and 7 rebounds. Jared Harris had a clutch 3-ball, 3 for 3 from the field, down in the stretch after they had swung the ball all over the place. But for this game, it is Octavius Davis and John Martin. Octavius Davis with 22 points and 6 rebounds. John Martin with 17 points and 6 rebounds. Micah Bradford had 5 points this whole game. He hit 1 field goal. And it was the game winner. This game is a Cinderella story. Like, of all the games for the Nets to lose, this is not the one I would have expected them to lose against the Spurs. And this is a fun fact that our commissioner John Henschel told me. Ever since, I think it was once, like ever since the first season, the Spurs have not beaten the Nets have not beaten the Spurs since it was the Nets and the Spurs.
It's an omen.
They have not, and it's crazy because Dennis Coger came from the Spurs and went to the Nets, and the Spurs still beat the Nets. It's like, even though Coger couldn't play as well, they are missing Dennis, so Dennis definitely fills in the gap for them not having Sammy. So they were missing some people, and this is a game they could have won, but the Spurs definitely came to play. And down the stretch, this game was John Martin's game to me. 7 for 13 from the field, 3 for 5 from three. He had 17.6 rebounds and a steal. I think him going early and Octavius just, doing what he does, like every game, like really got them in this game. How did you feel about this game, Mr. Peoples?
Oh man. Whew. Like I told, I'm gonna start off with the Spurs. Spurs never gave up. They stayed the course. They played defense. They rebounded the ball. John Martin is the unsung hero for yesterday. He was doing stuff I did not know he could do. He was dribbling coast to coast. He was doing spin moves, everything. He looked like Jackie Moon out there. But they stayed the course and they never gave up. And that's what the Spurs do, man. They really never give up on games. Even the games that they have lost, they never gave up, and they just stayed the course in this one, and they was able to come out victorious. Nets, man, this a hard one to lose. But like I told Chills, like I told Ronnie, it's better to lose these type of games now than do it in the playoffs. So, I mean, I feel like they're going to take this as a learning experience because, it was times that they didn't box out. It was times that they had a turnover and things of that nature when they shouldn't have had. So, I mean, I think it's a learning curve for the Nets, obviously, especially knowing how, Chills think and Puda think and everything. I don't think it's a game that they just need to beat themselves over the head about, but it's definitely a game to learn from and to apply it to as the playoffs go down the line. So, yeah, it was a good game, man. This is definitely my game of the week.
Yeah, this was. I still want to see a little more from Troy Louis. I feel like we get more from him. This game is different. He's still, like I said, this next man up, and this you have to be a real baller to have to play with the Nets because each game is going to be different. You don't know who's going to show up sometimes. Everybody has their role to play, but when someone doesn't show up, there's a role that needs to be played. They're all aware of the roles that need to be played that's out there. So it kind of makes it easy to fill in and kind of compete and contribute. But Troy Louis has to get some more buckets. He's touching the ball. He's getting assists. He's getting rebounds. He's making stuff happen. He's just gotta do things, to get some more buckets. I think he needs to put himself in more scoring position. But we'll go on to the next game and final game, which is the Bulls and the Thunder. I enjoyed this game from beginning to end, even though it was a 20-point game, 89-69, 51 points for the Bulls in the first half and 38 in the second. The Thunder, 34 in the first, 35 in the second. 69 points for the Thunder. There was only 5 players for the Bulls, and you think, the Thunder being younger, they'd have more opportunity to, run. And there were a lot of dunks from the Thunder in this game. This was I think 4 separate dunks from the Thunder. I think you got one from Cam Link, one from CJ Link, two from Antoine Peterson. They were both two-handers in stride, in transition, like strong. Like I like to see it. Like I think if they bring that type of intensity and can play better defense, I think that we might be able to see, what everyone else can see from the talent in the Thunder team, which they have a lot of talent. They just have to play the right way. But this Bulls team, everybody in double figures. Benny Munoz, Benny Bucket, 20 points, 4 assists, 4 rebounds. Bobby Krivakopis, 16 points, 17 rebounds, and 5 assists. Just ridiculous game for him. 17 points, 5 rebounds for Miguel Munoz. He was shooting the lights out. 22 points and 12 rebounds for Nick Crow. 14 points and 10 rebounds for Riley Johnson. Riley Johnson was unstoppable in this game. They literally had zero answer for him. Zero answer for him. Those numbers speak for themselves. How do you feel about this game?
Man, Bulls did everything right. Literally. They rebounded. They had 11 assists as a team, so they passed the ball. 7 for 25, 28% from three-point line, but they made effective threes when they needed them, things of that nature. And they just played a good game with just 5 people. That just shows how much chemistry they have together, and it shows how much chemistry the Thunder don't have with one another. With the talent that they have, they very talented. And it's just showing how much. It doesn't matter how talented you are, you still got to play the game. You can look good on paper, but you still got to play the game. And like, they don't have an identity. They don't have a. It's almost like they don't have a drive either. Even though they did show spurts of like playing hard yesterday, but it's like they got to know that they got to put together a whole game of that, like 40 minutes of playing basketball, not, just lollygagging out there and things of that nature. And so they just don't have an identity, man. And it's hurting them a lot. But, I mean, like I said, the Bulls came to play, and they played well.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the Bulls are just one of the better scoring teams in the league. I think defensively they can do much better. This was I believe, season half of the Thunder, 69 points. That I think they need to just do a little more defensively, keeping teams from getting to spots that they want to get to, things of that nature. I think that them having their full team would have been great, but to score with 5 guys to score 89 points is beautiful. There's not much you can do. Like, in order for them to win the game like this, the way they did, they played through Nick Crow, who got going early, and then Benny and Miguel Munoz start making shots. And now you can't double the inside. So now Riley's by himself down there, and he starts to get going. And then Bobby is just kind of all over the place, making things happen, being the playmaker this team needs. He told me, he pulled me to the side and said he was listening to the last podcast, and he heard me say that the Bulls are lacking playmaking. They're lacking that guy that can get everybody in their spot to be able to run the offense the way it needs to be ran, because at times they get lost and complacent. And he told me he stepped up to the task and kind of did more facilitating and getting the ball where it needed to go. Now focused on assists, not necessarily focused on like being flashy and like diming the ball over the place, but like putting the ball where it needed to be for the offense to be successful. And Bobby did a really good job of that. His numbers show 16 points, 17 rebounds, and 5 assists. He had the ball. He had the ball a lot. And when you have the ball a lot, you can do a lot with it. So I think he did a really good job of really being a facilitator out there for his team. At his height, his size, his physicality, using his shooting, even though he was 0 for 3, you got to guard it, and it gives him a lot of leeway to work with at guard. So I like what I saw from the Bulls this game. I did. If they play like this every game, I think any team would have a problem. And that will wrap up the recap for week 7. We'll see you guys next week for the recap for week 8. All right, guys. I have with me Bobby Krivokapic of the Bulls. Thank you for tuning in and being here with me. Bobby, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm all right, my guy. I cannot complain. Well, first things first, I want to get into your game, which was the final game of the day, Bulls versus the Thunder. The Bulls take this game 89-69. Bulls score a whopping 51 points in the first half, which is amazing. For a 20-minute half with a running clock. Very high scoring first half for you guys. And 38 in the second half to get a total of 89. You guys only had 5 guys this game. Benny Munoz with 20 points. Bobby Krivokapic, yourself, with 16 points. 17 points for Miguel. 22 points for Nick Crow. And 14 points for Riley Johnson. Season high, career high for him. Like to see him get involved in this game. He was literally nobody can do anything with him this game. Like, he was just a cheat code, and you guys used him when you needed him. And then for the other team, you had CJ Link, who had an amazing game. 10 for 18 from the field, 5 for 12 from 3, had 25 points. Then you had Brajan Thomas, 15 points, Cam Link, 14 points, and not much outside of those guys. I'll give my small synopsis before I let you speak. I'll start with the Thunder. I think this was a game that the Thunder can definitely build on. I think that this was the best ball that they've played offensively. They weren't necessarily as disciplined as I would like for them to be. But I think that, scoring their season high, I believe it was 70 points they scored. I believe the final score when we were there was 89-70. But for them to score 70 points and that be their high was like a really good thing for them to look at. I think they just need to focus on the other side of the ball. Once they focus on defense, I think, and if they could stop some teams from scoring and play together, I think they can actually string together like a run and make it hard for a team to get past them in the playoffs. Because this team is talented. They just don't play well together at this point. But from you guys, the Bulls, 5 players only. You only had 5. And this is the best teamwork I've seen and distribution of the ball I've seen. The lowest guy had 14 points and the highest guy had 22. So you feel in between that, like, I feel like nobody was targeted. I think Nick Crow was targeted to score early and often because of his size advantage and, his physicality. But I think that this was just a very well-paced game for you guys. Not the best defensive game I've seen you guys play, but really on the offensive end, I think you guys rival any of the teams in the league. Being able to put up 89 points with 5 guys is a feat amongst itself. Tell me what was going through your mind through this game, Bobby.
5 guys. I think we all know from the circumstances of Seth not being there. That always hurts. Seth. A lot of people dog Seth. A lot of people are not. Seeing where Seth's at this year, but but we still do. Seth's always a big key to our team. So whenever we lose him, it always hurts. But Mike and Herb, they are missing because of injuries. So, so that kind of hurts us as well. And then Keith had a personal issue come up, and he couldn't make it that day. So we had a lot of, I guess, unnecessary. Like I guess you could say, yeah, bursting out into what's the word I'm looking for? Unknowledgeable absence.
Right, things you just didn't know, just the unknown.
We weren't prepared to have 5 guys.
Right.
For Sunday. So having 5 guys kind of was the biggest worry for us, but we knew we could go in and still be the team that people are scared of. And also we've come to notice that the less guys we have is kind of the better we play.
Very true.
Yeah, because it's always hard to get guys in here and there, and depending on which situation we're in. But every guy on this team's a key dude, and I mean it showed today. And we were very happy with the outcome. And I think the biggest key for me about this game was Riley Johnson. We all know that Munoz brothers are really the bucket brothers. They
get bucket.
Yeah, they're the bucket brothers this year. And we all know Nick Crow can score at will sometimes. And then myself being the facilitator, and I just really wanted this game for Riley. Riley hasn't shown his true potential yet, and we knew going into this game, him playing the whole time, this was a game for him to showcase what he can be in this league. And I know he got in foul trouble early going into this game, so that kind of put him like lenient towards some situations, scared, hesitant, lenient. But I really at halftime really drilled into him, hey, keep being you. Keep being the person we picked you up for. And I think the second half was everything he had. I think 80% of his rebounds and 80% of his points were in the second half. So, yeah, I mean, going into this game, we were just worried 5 guys. And we knew the Thunder were going to bring it, especially knowing that we were coming in with 5 guys. Their heads probably got pretty big. They were like, hey, we could steal one, but I think we've noticed that we can't – you can't take a team for granted in this league. Yeah,
they came to play.
Every team in this league, you can't go in knowing that you're going to win. And a lot of teams have showed that. So yeah, I think that was the biggest thing for us, was going in low numbers and knowing that we had to facilitate our timeouts well, to give us breathers. And really slowing the game down for us, because we knew the Thunder were going to come in and they're going to want to run. They saw 5 guys on that court and they were like, we're going to run.
They got like 4 dunks. They were not playing around.
Yeah. So we knew they were coming in this game wanting to run, because one of our guys, 7-footer. I mean, you run, he gets tired. Now you're basically playing on 5-on-4. You know what I'm saying? So I knew we were going into that like that. So we really had to play smart. We really had to slow our game down, play our game and really get good buckets. And it showed. I mean, 3 guys, double-doubles. I mean,
I was just about to say that. You got 3 guys with a double-double. That's huge.
Yeah, 3 guys with double-doubles, and the other 2 guys scored the ball. I mean, you can't ask for any more with only 5 guys on the court.
You guys shot 37 for 80, so you shot 46% total. It was only 3 shots from 3 taken outside the Munoz brothers. Miguel took 13, Benny took 9, you took 3. Nick Crow and Riley Johnson with 14 and 10, 22 and 12, and you with the whopping 16 and 17, which is huge. So now let's kind of shift our focus toward how do you match up later in the playoffs? Because everybody makes it, and we don't like to think too many games far ahead. We like to focus on the next game, the game after, because like you say, any team can beat you at any given moment. and you never know who you're gonna have in this league. We all have lives, family, jobs, things of that nature. Um, how do you feel about matching up with the top teams in this league for the Bulls?
Um, I think we match up great. I think yeah, and I'm not being biased here, but I think we have an all around full like squad. You know what I'm saying? We fill every position. You know, and I know a lot of people are saying that, you know, we're lacking at the point guard spot, you
Mm-hmm.
know, but I think we do just fine. You know, with Benny bringing up the ball or myself, Keith Wright, when he gets a little bit more time with us, you know, he's only been with us for 2-3 games now. Um,
I
with
played
him,
with Keith over the summer, so I know what he's capable of. He's a very
yeah,
good guard and a smart player, very smart player.
yes, and that's why I picked him up. Picked him up late. It was a funny story. I actually ran into him in a restaurant, and and I asked him why isn't he playing. He said no one picked him up, so I snagged him. So because I know how he plays too, and
Mm-hmm.
he just gotta you know, he gotta get the water, you know, test the waters a little bit with us a little bit more. I think he just needs more time. And he'll fit in just great at the point guard spot for us. But other than that, uh with playoffs coming up and the top tier teams, I mean, we've shown that we can beat the top tier teams. I mean,
Absolutely.
we've shown that. I mean, beating the Spurs, upsetting them with, I think, I don't know if we had a full squad there that game
I
either.
think you all had 6 players.
Yeah, and we beat them then. You know, and they just beat the top team.
They just upset the net.
Yeah.
So
So, like I said, anybody can win this thing. It's just what it is. Everybody got to come into the playoffs, not taking any team for granted. And really, to be honest, the one thing I can agree with on your guys' podcast every week is I believe we're one of the teams that nobody wants to see.
mm-mm. You
I
got to score
mean,
too many points. You
yeah,
got if you can put points on the board, it's like really hard to stop that. That's something you have to really be prepared for.
yes, and the one thing we've come into this season worried about, well, myself anyways, being the captain of this team, I've drilled my team with we know we could score the ball. We
Mm-hmm.
know, okay, and the biggest thing for me, especially going into playoffs, is defense. We got to put up defense, and I think we've played great defense for the first, you know, first 6-7 weeks of the season. I mean, I've seen, I think, one game we've given up. Other than this game, if this game was 70, you know, if this yeah, if this game was 70 points, we've given up then 2 games that have been 70 or more.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's been in the 60s or less. I mean, and I think that's great D.
Yeah.
If you could, if you, I mean, last season, what were we seeing? We had what 300-400 point games.
Yeah, you all had a lot of 100-point games. You all did.
So I mean, if we could keep teams, especially with this caliber of talent in this league right now, we can keep teams in the 60s. I think we're doing great defense. So I think that's just the biggest thing for us is just staying out of foul trouble because we are big. You
Mm-hmm.
know, we are big, and you know, our bodies get the best of us. um, and so we just got to stay out of foul trouble and go into playoffs with the right mindset of we got to play defense first. And I think we will fit right into the top tier teams. So.
I totally agree with you. I think that the Bulls team that you have now, I think that you guys are probably the most proficient offensively in this league. I think that the Warriors can put up buckets quickly. The Nets are not a high scoring team, but they're just a very disciplined team, and they hold teams to a certain. They're probably the best defensive team in the league. Um, and there's not a lot of teams this season that are just really scoring in the high 80s, 90s. The Celtics are another team that score a lot of points too. But the number for me that gets you guys and keeps you guys in game is your rebounding, and that comes with your size. This game, you out rebounded them 48-19. Like I said, you had 17 rebounds, 12 rebounds, 10 rebounds, and the half of the other team was five. Two guys had five. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so you using your size in those instances and being able to secure extra possessions for your team, being able to control the pace of the game, because when you rebound the ball, you have more possessions and more time with the ball. So that allows you guys to get into your sets. I think that going forward, I think you guys are amping it up and bringing more and more. And you guys did more with less this week, so that should be a lot of hope to come, especially scoring 89 points, which I think is huge. And I have one more question, and this is going to be a question that has nothing to do with the Bulls. Give me your dark horse team. If you were to pick a team that nobody expected to be as good as they are, since you play these teams, what is the most underrated team in the K1 to you?
Ooh. I mean, underrated.
Like by record, like their record does not show how good they are, or they just haven't been winning games, but they're really good in their games. Like they just couldn't pull the win out. Like name a team that once they get over their hump, they're just going to be something serious or something just to deal with. Like,
I mean, underrated. I think, to be honest, there's two answers to this question, and to
okay,
me, anyway, and that's one being the team we just played.
yes,
Uh,
yes, I think they're
uh,
underrated as well.
yeah, I think the team we just played. I mean, they can put up runs, um, and I think, to be honest with you, they're just missing a center.
They don't have a big.
That's the only thing they're missing. They're just missing a center to be one of them top tier teams, or at least in the middle. Another team that I would say would be underrated, that I think could go pretty far in the playoffs that a lot of people forget about, are the Bucks.
That's my
Um,
dark horse to win it all.
yeah, I think if I would have to, go into March Madness and I want to, a 12 to beat a 5, I
Yeah, give
mean,
me the
I'm
Bucks.
going with the Bucks.
Yeah, give me the
Um,
Bucks.
yeah, I mean, the Bucks just know how to nitpick teams. They know how to beat around the bush. Um, they might not be the biggest, they might not be the quickest, but they sure have the IQ that beats
Yes,
teams. You know what I'm saying?
and tough.
Uh,
They're tough.
yes. So they move the ball well. They make the correct shots selections, and that's what gets teams, and that's what I think us as a team. Personally, I think that's one thing we're missing sometimes is the right shot selection. I think that's what's
Mm-hmm.
gotten us, beat by, 2-3 points here or there. I mean, we've played week 7, right?
Yes, week 7. You're 3-4.
Yeah. Out of our 4 losses, we have a total loss count of 11.
Mm.
And I think most, and there's a bunch of things you could say that's gotten us beat. Oh, this could have happened, this could have happened, this could have happened. But I just think there are just some times where us as a whole got to make the right shot selection sometimes, and know who's the hot hand and know when to find mismatches and stuff like that. I think those little things, if we can get that fully grouped together, we're one of them underrated teams too. But yes, I would have to say the team we played, the Thunder, is just missing one dude, I think, to be one of the top tier teams. And then of course the Bucks just being as a whole IQ type of smart team.
Yeah,
So
because the Bucks. Yeah, we just played the Bucks, and
yeah.
you thought we had it, and then right when it came down the stretch to those last 2 minutes, they made the right decision, the right play. They got it to the right guy. They were very unselfish. I think what makes the Bucks so deadly is the fact that they're so dominant inside. They can score the ball inside with Barrick and Quan, but
Yep.
yet you cannot double team them because they have Caleb Johnson, Evan Johnson. They got shooters outside that can like Chris Anderson, another good shooter. Like they got shooters all Brian Hernandez. Like they got shooters all over the place to where those guys can work inside and get bigs in foul trouble. Like I can see why you say that because like can you imagine Quan Shaw getting Riley or Seth in foul trouble or Nick in foul trouble and now they can't play defense like they want to? That can be a problem for a lot of teams, especially teams with size. My team is a team with size. They easily, I think we did a good job defending it, but it could have totally went the other way. Like I give the Bucks credit where it's due, and I think that's a really good pick. The Bucks and the Thunder. Thunder missing one guy, and the Bucks just need to stay consistent. They can't make too many mistakes.
Yeah, I would just have to. I mean, you can't add that one guy now for the Thunder, but so if I would have to pick a dark horse in the playoffs, it would have to be the Bucks because you can never leave them out. I mean, it's just like they're one of them teams that finish. They finish games. I think I noticed a couple teams this year, including us. We are guilty as charged, not being able to finish games.
Right. Same. That's the story of the Grizzlies this whole year.
Yeah. I mean, that's the story of us too. That's the story of us for the last 2 seasons.
Man.
I mean, the Nets are as good as they are now, but we were up 17 against them in the second round last year, and we lost.
Right.
I mean, so just finishing games, and they're one team that finishes games. No matter how much they're down, they will finish. The very end. Yeah. So
one more question for you. And this is just a quick one. If you were to pick a team, if you had your own way and you can pick a team to play in the championship, what team would you pick to play?
I mean, shoot, man. I think it's a very easy question. Has to be Celtics.
Oh, that'd be great.
Has to be Celtics. I mean, and we play them the last game of the season. So it'll be nice seeing where that goes. But yeah, definitely got to be the Celtics. I mean, they're reigning champs right now.
Yeah.
I mean, they were Suns last year, but basically it is the same team. They got a couple new guys and stuff like that. But yeah, I think it's either the Celtics or the Nets. I mean, I'd love to see them in there too because of the fact that we lost such a close game to them last season, and they didn't have Puda.
Yeah, they didn't have Puda.
Yeah, they didn't have Puda, and having him would just make that game even.
He didn't have his jersey. Was that the game he didn't have his jersey?
Yeah, didn't have his jersey. So having him to play and really trying to earn it now, would be nice. Like because you look last season, if we beat them, now what's everybody talking about?
Nobody. Puda didn't play. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So now got his jersey. Now we really play him.
Let's play.
So and then but yes, the one person I would like to see, the one team I'd like to see in the playoffs, definitely Celtics.
That's totally understandable.
Everybody wants to see him in the playoffs. Not gonna lie.
Yeah. I personally, and this is no offense to anybody on the Celtics team because I love a lot of those guys on that team. But personally, I think the intensity and competitiveness of Phil Andrady makes me like playing the Celtics. I think Andrady is. You see, they just played the Nets without. No, it wasn't the Nets. The Warriors without Andrady. And you see they lacked on the rebounding. They lacked on interior scoring. They didn't have a perimeter interior defender to stop certain things. I think that he changes the landscape of what they do in totality. I think his energy at 6'4" is just nuts. I don't think that you can really – that's unmatched in this league. At his level of energy, like I have a lot of energy at 6'5", and I don't think I can compare to that guy at 6'4".
Well, that's another reason I'd like to see him in the playoffs because I think a lot of people would like to see us and the Celtics in the playoffs play each other because who are the two most emotional people in the league?
Yeah, Nick Crow and Ryan Kavos. Yeah,
Crow.
That's a great matchup.
I think we would draw probably the biggest fan base up in that. In that
Oh, it's gonna be a lot of chirping.
we'd have the most viewers for that game. Is
Yeah,
watching Ryan Quaz and Nick Crow go at it.
I'd personally commentate that game. I'd make sure I put myself on the schedule to commentate that game.
I think I would just coach that game, to be honest.
You want to watch?
Yeah, I just want to watch.
That's beautiful. Well, all right, guys. Thank you for tuning in. My interview with the head coach of the Bulls, Bobby Griffin-Coppage. Thank you for being here, giving us some of your time. You enjoy the rest of your day, your night, and the rest of your season. Good luck to you, and championship aspirations to everyone, and good health to everybody.
Hey, before we go, I don't think this guy gets enough credit where credit's due. He does. Walter Hudson does a lot.
Oh, man.
For one league. I mean, he goes from broadcasting to being the PA announcer to helping, John and the whole league do whatever they got to do to make this league even better. And then plus doing this. I mean, he just got off work and it's 10 o'clock and he's asking me questions. I mean, no one gives this guy enough credit. So
I appreciate that, man. I really do. I honestly don't do it for the credit. I just love what I do. But when you get credit, I take it, and I appreciate that.
You got to give credit too, sir.
I appreciate that a lot. Well, I'll take my credit, and you guys have a good night.